Our next speaker this morning entered Oakridge as a 10th grader. Please help me in welcoming Madison Kline.
Hi, I'm Madison Kline, and I'm going to be talking about marginalization and the importance of representation in the media, and more specifically in the film industry. So, to express my topic, I must first clarify what I mean when I refer to marginalization, which Merriam-Webster defines as the process of putting or keeping someone in a place of unimportance or powerlessness in a societal group. Essentially, in order to form a hierarchical system, groups must be placed in spaces of importance, and these groups must be reminded of their places through acts of violence, microaggression, and through language. So how does this relate to the film industry? This is presented through the visual languages and the constructed narratives that are presented through film. The stories that are told, those telling the stories, and the absence of other identities, and how that affects those around them. The people who benefit and those disenfranchised by this. The people who benefit and those disenfranchised view themselves and those around them. This is the basis of representation theory, which is a term that refers to the process of production and their products, and how that helps us shape our own views and identities in the world around us. Take, for instance, a concept like the gaze. How do men look at men look at women, and how do women look at men, etc. Though the concept of the gaze is present much earlier, the term can be attributed to Laura Mulvey in her essay Visual Pleasure in the Narrative Cinema, which was published in 1975, in which Mulvey states that women are oftentimes the object of gaze rather than the possessors because of the control of the camera, which functions as with an assumption of a heterosexual man being the target audience. This forms a point of view in which, a heterocentric point of view in which women are viewed as objects to be acted upon and men are objects or people to be acting upon them. This is presented in modern cinema in examples like Marvel's The Avengers, or other like films, which many of these superhero movies do not supply sufficient screen time for females that do not limit them to acts of violence or as archetypal love interest. This trend is what led to the introduction of the Bechdel test, which was inspired by Alison Bechdel's comics, The Rule, in which demonstrates gender bias in contemporary cinema. The test has 3 criteria. Are there more than 2 women in the film? Do they speak to each other? And do they speak to each other about something other than a man for more than 2 minutes consecutively? Despite deeming films with minimum female interaction passable, many films still fail the test. Though this test is not the golden rule for what it is to have a successfully developed female character. It starts out a conversation that women are being dramatically underrepresented in films, and if they are present, they're oftentimes limited to their relation to more prominent male figures. Though this is not limited to a gendered conversation. In a study conducted by the University of Southern California, it was concluded that out of the 100 top grossing films in 2012, only 10% of all speaking roles were Black, 4% Hispanic, 5% Asian, 4% other or mixed ethnicities, and over 3/4 or 76% were white. So, filmmakers are sending us messages about how to relate to our world, and no text, no matter how realistic it may seem, is a constructed representation. And a representation, when presented frequently, becomes familiar, and familiarity becomes naturality. So, and that affects how the other view themselves up against what is the natural. So, stories then have the power to unite, divide, inform, mislead, to reinforce beliefs, and to change opinions. But for a story to be recognizable, it must be recognizable to a broad audience. And this is determined through our own personal identities and how that relates to classes such as gender, class, and race, which all act together to form identities and also are appropriate roles through their constructs. Because naturally, as we begin to become aware of the world around us, it's natural for us to see similarities and differences with one another, but these constructed concepts are also used to establish superiority and inferiority, and by extent, subordinance and dominance. Hall and Rithenberg notes that race, class, and gender have been socially constructed in America as differences in form of hierarchy. Though we can't level the hierarchy by erasing these identities, but rather we should all make a concerted effort to uphold those that are disenfranchised, without the fear of disenfranchisement. Naturally, it seems like a lot of effort to completely deconstruct our power structures in a Western society. Rome wasn't destroyed in a day. However, each individual can contribute to social progress as they move on through life by enacting changes in their own circles or expression, whether that be calling out a friend's bigotry or by rewriting a film industry. Thank you.